What's going on, everybody? It is your boy Zamboni. I am a musician and astrologer, and it is time to talk about the astrology of the week ahead. As always, I thank you so very much for being here. Even though it is still raining and I can't go outside, y'all still rocking with me to check out what's going on with this astrology this week. So thank y'all for that. If you want to go to zambonifunk.com, you know there's a bunch of goodies over there. This week will definitely be a week where some confusing things are likely to take place. We got a Mercury station going on this week. So Mercury is currently in Leo and is going to be stationing retrograde. So whenever Mercury stations retrograde and begins moving backwards, then we're going to be looking at, things feeling confused, things moving in weird directions. And what looks especially potent this week is that it looks like it wants to be kind of frustrating. It looks like there's some difficulty, some discomfort, some stuff that is likely to be disrupted over this time. So the reason why I'm thinking that is not just because Mercury is stationing retrograde. And so whenever Mercury stations retrograde, then the Mercury things, the communications, the transactions, the transportation, the speaking, listening, understanding, comprehension, all that sort of stuff is likely to be thrown into disarray. But then also, Mars is moving through Virgo right now and is going to be very closely conjunct the South Node there in Virgo. Mars is kind of discomforting in the first place. Mars's job is to be uncomfortable. I often think about Mars as being like a spur, like you have this sharp thing that you kick the horse with, and then that gets the horse into motion, right? It's the thing that gets you up, that motivates you because of the discomfort of it, right? So Mars's job is to make you uncomfortable and to get you moving. Also, the South Node is associated with discomfort. A lot of times the South Node is going to be releasing, purging, getting rid of stuff in some kind of way. So the two of those together does look like the kind of situation that is likely to be uncomfortable, but perhaps that discomfort motivates you to do something different than you've been doing up to this point. So there's that kind of disruption going on in Virgo, which is Mercury's sign, right? So the thing that Mercury rules, that Mercury is in charge of, is going to be disrupted, and Mercury is not doing a good job doing the Mercury things. Mercury's like, oh shit, I made some kind of mistake. There was something went wrong somewhere, and so I had to turn around and go back and try it again, or reassess the situation. Whenever we're looking at retrograde, then we're going to see the words show up another time, or reassess, reevaluate, redo, rework, reimagine, all that sort of stuff, right? So there's some kind of difficulty or disruption, especially in the Virgo things, especially when it comes to, cleaning things or organizing things or putting things into rows and making things intelligible so that they can be actionable. That sort of stuff looks like it is confused and confusing this week. Also, Mercury's other sign, Gemini, currently contains Venus. Love to see Venus up in the spot, Venus wants to help. Venus wants to bring a certain kind of cooperative energy or something like that. The thing about that is that this Venus is moving closer and closer to a square to Mercury in Virgo. So it's more of this kind of not quite sure what's going on and not quite sure how to connect about it, not quite sure how to sort of get into a place where we can understand each other and work together cooperatively, or come to a place of understanding and connection. That sort of stuff is difficult. Also, in Gemini, we've got Uranus now. Uranus is brand new in Gemini, only been there a week, going to be there for 7 years or something like that. And so this is like a little toe dip into the situation, not quite sure what's going on here yet, but it is Uranus's job to disrupt things, to bring surprises and chaos and disorder and this kind of stuff. Now, that is often, that is often the mother of invention. So especially where you are uncomfortable and where things are not working properly, and so you've got to turn around and try stuff another time, and where you are trying to connect but it hasn't worked yet, and all of that sort of stuff. All of that looks like it is a strong impetus to try something new, to begin a next style or something like that. This looks like a great time for experimentation. It looks like a really good time to, excuse me. Sorry about all that, y'all. Looks like a really good time to experiment, to try something out of the box, try something that is a little bit different. Maybe, one of the things that I really like about Uranus is that it is sort of irrepressible. It refuses to be held down in some kind of way, especially by order or rules or something like that. And so Uranus is very good at moving toward genuine authenticity, the rules be damned. And so that definitely has plenty of potential to come up with new ideas that could actually move you forward. But this is not a forward moving week, right? With Mercury stationing retrograde and with most of the major action going on this week in Mercury signs, this looks like reevaluation. This looks like maybe working through the plan another time. Maybe there is something about the plan that something has happened that you didn't necessarily expect, or that you thought was going to happen later, or something like this. And it's like, oh, I got to deal with this. And so in order to achieve my goals, I'm going to have to change what I'm doing and maybe not even move directly toward the goal right now, which is what Mars would typically want to do, right? Mars in Virgo is going to be like, okay, let's take the things, let's build it up, let's do something in order to put all of the pieces together so that we can achieve the goal. That's what Mars in Virgo is going to want to do, right? But with a Mercury retrograde, then we're probably going to be looking at like, oh, the pieces are not fitting properly. So I need to maybe try to understand what these pieces are in a different way, right? So this is a really good week for thinking through new ideas and working with, because it is so frustrating this week, like a lot of what the moon is doing this week also is like hanging out with malefics. As soon as we get into the week, then we're going to see the moon in Pisces opposite to Mars, and then after that it's going to be moon with Saturn in Aries. And so it's a lot of that kind of tension and difficulty and all of this sort of stuff. Moon is going to be square to the sun. Also, the sun is at the end of Cancer this week. Oh, we are going to see the heliacal rise of Jupiter. So if you are an early morning riser, then you'll be able to go outside and see Jupiter out in the sky. So that is pretty fun. Jupiter's been under the beams of the sun for a little while, and therefore maybe a little less helpful, nourishing, growing, all the sort of things that Jupiter in Cancer wants to do and does a really good job doing. We've seen a little less of that than we might have hoped for. And so this week we're going to start to be able to see Jupiter in the sky again. So that does look like the kind of thing that can be helpful and can move towards some kind of prosperity or something like that. But it's only the very beginning of this Jupiter transit, and it's only the very beginning of our ability to see Jupiter in this space. And so we are not quite to the point where stuff feels like it's flourishing or any of that sort of stuff yet. We are still in this moment where it's like, okay, in order to flourish, maybe you begin with the end in mind. Maybe you have an idea of what you would like it to look like ultimately, but the path to get there is unlikely to be the path that you had hoped for, had planned for, all of these kinds of things, right? And so it is going to be time for you to think through what the moves might be and how to navigate in ways that, it might be worth compromising a little bit. It might be worth maybe bending yourself or maybe bending the rules in some kind of way, right? If we're moving into a place where, it's it's all piracy all the time, then maybe there is going to be some useful way of approaching that I don't know how to say that publicly. I think you might get it. Hey, if you want some personal advice, go check zambonifunk.com. There's a 10-minute transit touch point. It is super helpful and easy and cheap and all that. So thank y'all so much for being here. Check y'all later.